On an active renovation deck, a worker drills into a damaged brick pillar, unaware that the weakened masonry above has become too unstable to withstand the constant vibration. Applying intense vibration to compromised masonry creates a serious overhead falling material hazard. A forklift operator in an industrial yard raises a massive steel cylinder, but the weight begins pushing the forklift beyond its limits. Pushing lifting equipment beyond its weight limits compromises overall stability. When an extended load shifts forward, it acts as a powerful lever against the front axle. This immense forward pull quickly overcomes the heavy rear counterweight. The solid frame tips forward, raising the back wheels above the concrete. This sudden balancing shift creates a significant stability risk, making it difficult for anyone inside to maintain stable positioning against the machine's interior structure. Secure long materials tightly to prevent unsafe sliding during transit. Verify exact weight limits before elevating massive parts. On an unfinished brick rooftop, a builder throws heavy timber over the edge while a trailing rope follows it over the side. Loose ropes attached to falling materials can behave unpredictably as tension changes during movement. As the timber accelerates downward, the trailing rope may tighten, swing, or catch on nearby objects or clothing without warning. Any unexpected tension can reduce a worker's balance and restrict movement near an exposed edge. Separating ropes from suspended materials before lowering them greatly improves overall worksite safety. Detach all tangled ropes from materials before lowering or throwing them from elevated structures. Inspect drop boundaries carefully for hidden snags. Always wear properly secured fall protection equipment when working near exposed edges. High inside a tire warehouse, a forklift lifts a massive metal rack into the air while the unsecured load becomes increasingly unstable with every movement. Loose materials become much less predictable after being raised to significant heights. Even small steering corrections or normal equipment movement can shift an unsecured load resting on the forks. The extended mast amplifies those movements, making the structure increasingly unstable during lifting. Without proper restraints, the load may separate from the forks and descend unexpectedly, placing the surrounding work area within the affected zone. Secure stacked items tightly with strong straps before raising the carriage. In a storm-damaged yard, a man stands atop an uprooted tree trunk while cutting the wood, unaware that the entire structure is about to spring upright. Storm-damaged trees often store large amounts of internal tension that can be released as cutting progresses. Removing heavy branches changes the balance of the remaining trunk and root system, allowing stored forces to shift unexpectedly. Standing directly on the moving section reduces stability throughout the operation. Maintaining a safe position beside the trunk provides greater control if the tree suddenly changes direction. Secure the heavy root base firmly before making major cuts. Stand beside the trunk instead of placing your weight directly on moving sections of the tree. Inside a cramped supply room, a man climbs onto stacked plastic buckets to reach an elevated shelf, but the fragile surface is not designed to support his weight. Plastic storage buckets are manufactured to contain materials, not to support concentrated body weight. Standing on their thin lids places force on surfaces that were never designed for climbing. As pressure increases, the plastic can deform or fail without warning, removing reliable support beneath the person's feet. The sudden loss of stability may result in a fall onto nearby shelving or surrounding equipment before balance can be recovered. Retrieve a sturdy step stool before stretching toward elevated racks. Anchor your boots onto solid equipment built strictly for climbing. Deep within a wooded yard, a man operates a heavy chainsaw from the top of a ladder as the freshly cut branch begins moving in an unexpected direction. Portable ladders provide far less stability when heavy cutting equipment is operated from their upper sections. As a large branch separates, its changing direction generates forces that can quickly affect the ladder's balance. Those unexpected movements make it increasingly difficult to maintain stable control while operating the chainsaw. Without secure anchoring, the ladder may shift unexpectedly, causing both the equipment and operator to descend to the ground. Anchor elevated frames firmly to sturdy trunks before starting overhead tasks. Keep heavy equipment strictly grounded to maintain stable balance. Clear wide drop zones. On a fresh concrete pour, laborers spread wet cement across a steel grid as the temporary support system gradually exceeds its load-bearing capacity. Temporary support systems must be capable of carrying the full weight of freshly poured concrete throughout the curing process. As wet cement accumulates, the increasing load places continuous stress on the framework beneath. If those hidden supports lack sufficient strength, they can give way without warning. The surface may drop unexpectedly, causing workers above to lose stable footing and leaving very little time to move toward a safer location. Verify that all lower support beams can withstand the expected load before pouring concrete. Anchor metal grids firmly to solid structural walls. Next to an active roadway, an excavator stretches a thick cable across the asphalt, creating a difficult-to-see obstacle for approaching traffic. Roadways must remain completely clear whenever cables or industrial lines are stretched across active traffic routes. A tightly tensioned cable can be difficult for approaching riders to notice, especially at normal travel speeds. If contact occurs, forward motion may stop abruptly while the rider loses stability. Because there is little time to react, proper traffic control measures are essential before any line is extended across a roadway. Block street traffic completely with bright barricades before pulling lines over the asphalt. Station spotters well ahead of the work area to stop approaching vehicles safely. On a loading tailgate, a worker maneuvers an electric pallet jack just before the heavy machine suddenly drives off the open edge. Open platform edges leave very little margin for error when powered equipment is being operated nearby. If a pallet jack moves too close, one of its wheels can slip beyond the edge and suddenly change the machine's balance. That unexpected shift may reduce the operator's stability while the equipment continues moving downward. Even a minor positioning mistake can quickly develop into a dangerous workplace situation. Mark boundaries around open edges before moving loads. Release handles immediately if machinery begins tipping over an edge. Steer motorized units carefully near elevated platforms. Inside a dusty timber yard, workers stand between stacks of massive tree trunks as the upper pile gradually becomes unstable. Round materials naturally tend to roll whenever their supporting pressure changes unexpectedly. Without properly installed chocks or wedges, stacked logs can begin moving with very little warning across uneven ground. Their increasing momentum greatly reduces the time available for nearby workers to move safely away. Remaining within the travel path of rolling materials significantly increases the likelihood of becoming trapped against nearby stationary objects. Secure every stacked cylinder with strong ground chocks to prevent unexpected movement. Establish wide, clear zones whenever materials are being repositioned on elevated piles. Always remain aware of nearby material handling operations. Deep inside an active vessel hold, a massive blowout preventer is carefully lowered while the lifting rigging remains under tremendous strain. Suspended loads should never be treated as completely secure until they have been safely lowered and fully stabilized. Even properly maintained lifting systems can experience unexpected equipment or rigging failures under demanding conditions. If support is suddenly lost, the load may move downward unexpectedly, with little opportunity for anyone below to move clear. Maintaining a strict exclusion zone remains one of the most effective safety measures. Establish strict exclusion perimeters well outside the area beneath suspended loads. Position every spotter safely away from the active lifting path. Verify complete load stability before approaching equipment after it has been lowered. Inside a quiet pharmacy, a customer climbs onto a lightweight display rack to reach products, stored on the highest shelf, relying on equipment never intended to support body weight. Retail display shelves are designed to support merchandise, not the concentrated weight of a person standing on them. Climbing onto lightweight fixtures places stress on components that were never engineered for that purpose. If the structure suddenly gives way, stable footing is immediately lost. Using proper access equipment greatly reduces the chance of losing balance while reaching products stored on higher shelves. Use a sturdy step stool before stretching to reach elevated items. Request assistance to safely access high inventory. Inside a cold delivery truck, workers guide a massive rolling cargo bin toward the open tailgate as the container approaches an uneven transition point. Moving tall, rolling containers across uneven transitions requires careful control because their balance changes quickly as wheel positions shift. Once the front wheels pass beyond an elevated edge, the center of gravity moves forward, and manual control becomes more difficult. The container may begin descending unexpectedly, leaving anyone guiding it with very little time to regain safe positioning or move clear. Inspect transition plates carefully before moving bulk items over open ledges. Guide tall rolling structures from the higher side whenever possible to maintain better handling control during elevation changes. At a busy outdoor timber yard, a worker reaches across a set of fast-spinning steel rollers while attempting to handle material near an active machine. Rotating industrial rollers can draw in nearby materials far more quickly than most people expect. Once clothing, gloves, or skin contacts the moving surface, friction provides enough grip to pull the material toward the narrowing gap. That powerful mechanical force quickly exceeds normal human strength, making self-recovery extremely difficult. Maintaining a safe distance from active rollers remains essential until the equipment has been completely powered down. Power down all rotating equipment completely before attempting to clear jammed debris. Maintain a safe working distance whenever machinery is operating. A mobile crane hoists a massive steel structure, but the shifting load gradually changes the machine's balance and stability. A crane depends on proper weight distribution to remain stable throughout every lifting operation. As a suspended load moves beyond the machine's support range, the center of gravity shifts farther forward. This increasing leverage steadily reduces the effectiveness of the counterweights supporting the crane. Once the balance changes, the chassis can tilt unexpectedly, allowing the suspended load to become uncontrolled as it descends toward the surface below. Calculate exact weight limits for every boom angle before lifting. Place stabilizing legs firmly on solid ground plates. In a quiet residential backyard, a man climbs a tall metal ladder positioned on smooth concrete without securing its base against movement. Stable ladder placement depends on both secure anchoring and sufficient friction at the base. Smooth concrete provides far less resistance against outward movement as body weight shifts higher during a climb. Once the base begins sliding, the ladder rapidly loses the support needed to remain stable. Properly securing both the upper and lower sections greatly reduces the likelihood of unexpected movement. Anchor the ladder base securely against stable structures. Test ground traction carefully before beginning any climb. Tie the upper rails firmly to a secure support whenever possible. Along an active street, a forklift extends its steel forks into a delivery truck, while public traffic continues moving through the surrounding area. Forklift forks become difficult for approaching road users to detect when they extend across active traffic routes. Their narrow profile can easily blend into the surrounding roadway, reducing the time available for riders to recognize the obstruction. If contact occurs, balance may be lost before effective evasive action is possible. Proper barricades and traffic control should always be established before crossing public roads with equipment. Install highly visible barricades before extending equipment across public roads. Assign dedicated spotters to stop approaching traffic safely while transferring loads between transport vehicles. Outside a wet roadside storefront, a shopkeeper raises a long metal pole toward the building, bringing it dangerously close to an energized overhead power line. Conductive materials become extremely dangerous whenever they are brought close to energized overhead power lines. Metal provides an efficient path for electrical current if contact or close electrical interaction occurs. Under those conditions, the body may become part of the path to ground, affecting normal muscle control and balance. Scan all overhead spaces carefully before extending long objects upward. Maintain strict physical distance from suspended lines during outdoor tasks. Always use non-conductive fiberglass tools for exterior store modifications. Inside an open auto garage, a worker performs routine cleaning beneath a raised vehicle lift while relying on the overhead support system to remain secure. Vehicle lifts rely on both hydraulic systems and mechanical safety devices to support elevated loads securely. If pressure is lost or support components fail unexpectedly, the raised vehicle can descend with very little warning. Anyone working beneath the lift has only a limited opportunity to move to a safer location. Engaging mechanical safety locks before beginning maintenance greatly reduces this risk. Engage all mechanical safety locks before working beneath elevated equipment. Inspect hydraulic hoses thoroughly for signs of wear or pressure leaks. On a steep dirt road, an unattended transport truck begins rolling downhill as a nearby worker attempts to slow its movement using pieces of wood. Unattended vehicles can begin moving unexpectedly whenever proper parking procedures are not followed. Once a heavy truck starts rolling downhill, its increasing momentum quickly makes manual attempts to slow or stop it ineffective. Objects placed beneath moving tires provide very little resistance against the vehicle's weight. Securing the vehicle before leaving the operator's position remains the safest way to prevent uncontrolled movement. Engage parking brakes fully before leaving the operator's compartment. Block large tires with properly designed wheel chocks during temporary stops. Move clear of the vehicle's travel path immediately if it begins rolling unexpectedly. Near the ceiling of an active workshop, a man works from the top of a metal ladder while hidden electrical wiring remains close to his position. Working near energized wiring requires equipment that does not conduct electricity under normal conditions. Metal ladders can provide a direct path for electrical current if they contact a live source overhead. Such contact may interfere with normal muscle control and reduce a person's ability to maintain stable balance. Using non-conductive ladders and disconnecting power before beginning work greatly improves safety during elevated electrical tasks. Deactivate main power switches completely before working near overhead electrical fixtures. Inspect ceiling areas carefully for exposed wiring. Always use non-conductive fiberglass ladders when performing elevated electrical repairs. At a nighttime loading dock, routine crate handling behind a delivery truck is interrupted when a parked car suddenly accelerates into the truck's rear. The space between two vehicles can disappear unexpectedly if either one begins moving without warning. Even a slight shift in position leaves very little opportunity for someone standing between them to move safely away. Running engines, unsecured transmissions, or unintended pedal movement can all contribute to unexpected vehicle motion. Maintaining a clear escape path and avoiding these confined areas significantly improves workplace safety. Ensure all nearby vehicles are fully secured before beginning loading operations. Establish safe barriers between loading areas and surrounding traffic. Avoid standing between vehicles whenever nearby engines remain running. On a dusty roadside, a heavy steel trailer is being unhitched when the idling tractor suddenly moves forward. Disconnecting heavy trailers requires the towing vehicle to remain fully secured before any components are released. Residual tension within the hitch system can allow equipment to move unexpectedly once the connection is removed. That sudden movement reduces the time available for nearby workers to respond safely. Turning off the engine and properly securing the vehicle helps prevent unintended movement during the entire procedure. Turn the ignition off completely before disconnecting any towed equipment. Place sturdy wheel chocks firmly against the tires to prevent unexpected movement. Enter the operator's compartment only after confirming the machine is fully secured. At an active industrial yard, a small forklift supports a massive silo while a towering crane operates overhead under an extremely demanding load. Heavy lifting operations depend on equipment that is properly matched to both the load and the working conditions. Supporting oversized structures with undersized machinery reduces the available safety margin throughout the lift. If any component loses support unexpectedly, suspended materials may move unexpectedly into the surrounding area. Careful load calculations and properly rated lifting equipment remain essential before beginning every operation. Calculate maximum load limits accurately before beginning heavy lifting operations. Keep all personnel outside the designated drop zone during overhead lifts. Inspect lifting cables and rigging thoroughly before every operation. Inside a busy auto shop, a fully raised vehicle is being adjusted when it suddenly slips from its support position. Elevated vehicles remain safe only when their supporting systems continue holding the load securely throughout the task. Changes in balance or shifting support points can reduce overall stability without much warning. If support is lost, the vehicle may shift or move unexpectedly before nearby workers have time to move away. Verifying mechanical locks before approaching the lift provides an important layer of protection during maintenance. Engage all mechanical safety locks before approaching elevated vehicles. Inspect rubber contact pads daily for signs of wear or damage. Stay clear of the drop zone whenever repositioning supported loads. On a busy factory floor, an open industrial mold remains accessible while the automated system is still capable of restarting its operating cycle. Automated machinery can restart unexpectedly unless every hazardous energy source has been properly isolated beforehand. Entering the operating area while moving components remain capable of cycling greatly increases the level of risk. Because industrial equipment cannot detect human presence, mechanical movement may begin without warning. Following complete lockout procedures before maintenance provides the safest environment for anyone working inside the machine. Disconnect and isolate the main electrical power before opening internal machine compartments. Install approved lockout devices and secure mechanical blocking equipment before maintenance begins. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.